What I remember most vividly was sitting in the operating room, and the doctor put a sheet between me and my right hand, and my right thumb was tore down, and there was a nurse in there, and the nurse in there made mention to the doctor that she'd never done a tourniquet before and didn't know quite how to change the valves, and the doctor said that he'd talk her through it. Next thing I knew, I was above my body watching the operation. What was unique about it was I wasn't by myself. I had someone right beside me watching. And I don't know if this is normal or not, but I watched every stitch that was put into my thumb. And I was sitting right up here above watching the surgery. And then in my mind, I was told, okay, it's time to go. And I remember so vividly I could never look back. I was instructed never to look back again. And the next thing I knew, and it was like a twinkle of an eye, I was standing in a field where the person that was with me was right next to me, but I couldn't see him. And I looked over to the left, and there was some great big tall trees. And I remember they were the most unusual looking trees that had a long trunk with the leaves up on top. And there were lots of them. And then to the right of that, which would be still to the left of me, was wildflowers, just beautiful wildflowers. And they were up about to my waist. And I just remember looking and seeing how beautiful the flowers are, because it's something that I really enjoy is yard work and gardening. And I just remember the vivid colors were just magnificent. And then in front of me, and then to the right, was tall grass that came up probably just about my waist high. And I was just standing there. And the next thing I knew, the person that had escorted me there was not there anymore, and I was by myself. But it was so peaceful. Everything it was really, what I remember so vividly was I could see a long ways to my left. I could see a long ways to my right. I wasn't allowed to look back. But in front of me was at the time it seemed like a cloud. It was just a white cloud. And all of a sudden in my mind, I started watching a video of my life. And I saw it from the day that I was born until I was 28 years old. Everything that I had done in my life, good, bad, it didn't matter, because what mattered was that's what I was being judged on, was what I had done. And I remember some of it hurt, but some of it made me feel good. But it was what it was. I had no one there to argue with, no one to say, I didn't do that. No, I did it. But there was a lot of things at that time in my life that I wasn't really as on track on my life as I should have been. It was, at that time in my life, I was working for the government, for the Postal Service at the time, and it was all about getting ahead. making enough money. And I was working, I remember at the time I was working in Jackpot, Nevada, which is way out in the middle of nowhere. And knowing that everything that I was doing was for myself and not for my family. And I think probably out of all of that I watched, it was, some was good, some was bad, but I knew that I had to do better with my life. I remember all of a sudden just being so peaceful. After it was all over, it was real. Nothing, there's no fake stuff. There was no, you didn't do this or I didn't do that. I did it. It was all about me. And what was so vivid was it was in my mind. I wasn't talking to anybody. I wasn't negotiating. It was all in my mind that I was visualizing. And when I got through, I went, it's over, I knew that I was dead, and I knew I was moving on. I was instructed through my mind, and that person wasn't next to me, but in my mind to get up and start working forward. And I walked up to this white cloud, and an arm came through, only about this much. And it just came through, and I'll never forget it. It was an arm that was strong. It was somebody that had worked either in the farming industry where his arms were big and his hands, I remember, were strong. They were bigger than my hands. They were a lot more meaty. And he reached out like this, and I reached towards his hand, and he said, "It is not yet your time. You have more things yet to do." And he pulled his arm back through, and I didn't see it again because of the cloud that was in front of me. And at that time, I went back into my body. The doctor said that there was a war going on inside of my body. The war was that I did not want to come back because it was so peaceful. I remember him saying, "What was going on? Why was you all over the place on that table?" And I told him that I didn't want to come back. It was too beautiful where I'd been. And come to find out, I had a paper on my chest, and it had pronounced me dead for 20 minutes. And I'd been gone. But I was gone in the most peaceful place that I could have ever went. When they wheeled me out, Connie was out in the hallway. She had no idea that anything had ever happened to me. But for 3 days, I've never had so much peace in my life as it's unbelievable, the peace that I had for 3 days laying in that hospital bed. Well, it changed my life. It changed the way I think about things. It changes the way I think about my wife and what we are together, and that we are one instead of trying to be one-on-one. We're trying to be one. At least I am trying. I'm not perfect. I've got a lot to learn in life. My life has taken me in a whole different direction since I was 28 years old. It's kind of brought me closer to my Father in heaven. I know there's a God. I know without a shadow of a doubt. One thing that I can also say is I'm not afraid of dying, because I know how peaceful it's going to be.